travel isn't just about destinations, it's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Relebogile Mabocha, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
My name is Clement. It's Charles Manyege in Riverside. You know, we are on our own for money, man. Basically means for anyone can attack any nation, and if you don't have an arsenal to respond, then you're in trouble. The UN can condemn all they want. Israel, the US, Russia, they attack at will. The inauguration of Trump has been a big problem for the world, man. We can't wait for this man to leave so everything can return to normal. Because Bibi, what they were with Trump, is got him.
Okay, so let's give some context for some listeners maybe that may have missed some bits of how we got here, right? And let me share my view as well, and then also take your thoughts on this latest development. So this was Operation Midnight Hammer. That's what the US code named it. And the question I've been asking myself is whether this operation has been a success or a spectacular failure, right? Operation Midnight Hammer was the code name for this US attack on Iran. It involved about 125 aircrafts. I mean, it was conducted with such precision from what the US has told us. So was it a success or was it a failure? What do you think? And success in terms of the actual damage the US strikes have caused on Iran's nuclear facilities, and success in terms of opening up the diplomatic channels. Iran says its nuclear infrastructure, especially Fordow, which basically is Iran's most important nuclear enrichment facility. It's buried deep inside a mountain to guard it from any sort of attack. It wasn't obliterated by attacks, as claimed by Donald Trump. Some of the officials in Iran have downplayed the impact of this US attack. In fact, the Pentagon held a briefing yesterday and said, we're still waiting for a damage assessment. So in as far as physical infrastructure is concerned, the US can't even claim complete obliteration of the nuclear facilities because they're still waiting for an assessment damage. But Iran says, well, we're not really affected as they claim. In as far as diplomacy is concerned, Iran believes the US actions have betrayed diplomacy. The US, by the way, now says diplomacy must now take over. It has no plans to launch more strikes. But the question is, what does Iran do now? What do you think should be the approach of Iran? Should it retaliate? And if it retaliates, does it retaliate against the US or against Israel? What does retaliation even look like for Iran? Because they control some militia in the Middle East that are near US bases. Is that the way to go? Because America said, if you dare retaliate, you will regret it. And why did America get involved at this stage? What threat was America facing? And that's why I asked, was this action backed by American foreign policy or by pressure from Benjamin Netanyahu? Because you don't just intervene militarily in a sovereign state unless that decision is grounded on facts. For instance, does the US have information that the supreme leader in Iran ordered weaponization? America says the question is irrelevant. Really? Is it irrelevant? If the US intelligence has not indicated that Iran has made a decision to build a nuclear weapon, was this attack then grounded on facts? Or there was an absence of intelligence here? Let's give you some background. Here's Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, thanking Donald Trump for attacking Iran.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace.
That's Benjamin Netanyahu praising President Donald Trump after that U.S. attack on Iran. Now, please bear with me because I want to give you some context so that I frame why I believe what I believe this morning, and you can share your thoughts as well. Benjamin Netanyahu has been claiming for years now that Iran is close to producing nuclear weapons for many years. In fact, let me take you as far back as 1996. This is what he said in 1996.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. And Iran, by the way, is also...
That's what he said, right? The deadline is extremely close. That's 1996. Listen to him in 2002.
And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years.
Within 15 years. Here he is in 2012 making the same assessment.
By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb.
That was in 2012. What did he say in 2015?
The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. That would place...
That's in 2012. Now let's listen to the latest clip where he makes the same assessment he's been making since 1996. This was on the 12th of June this year.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
So, since 1996, he's been saying the same thing. Okay, maybe you're wondering, maybe he's right this time around. Well, let's hear from the US's intelligence director, Tulsi Gabbard. This is what she said earlier this year.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
That's it, and that's key. The US clearly has no evidence that Iran is building a weapon. That's the US's intelligence director. I mean, she's since come out to say, yeah, the media misquoted me, but where in that clip is she being misquoted? She's saying that in her own words, but she's coming out to say this now on X because Donald Trump clearly had different views to hers. Now, the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was asked this question during a TV show yesterday, whether America had intelligence that the supreme leader of Iran ordered weaponization. This is how he responded.
Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the supreme leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I see that question being asked on the media. That's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is the
everything they need
key
to build
point
a
in
weapon.
U.S. intelligence assessment. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
the political decision had not
I know
been
that better
made.
than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons.
How? What do you mean it doesn't matter that the order was given? He says it's irrelevant, which then makes you wonder, on what intelligence did the U.S. base this attack on? So what did America rely on to make this decision to attack Iran? And I'm asking this, and we have to be careful because it's the same America that claimed that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And then 20 years later, what happened? Did they find those weapons of mass destruction? Or was that used to justify the invasion? Now, listen to the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency. His name is Rafael Grossi. His team is basically the one that goes to countries and monitors nuclear sites. They've even gone to monitor the nuclear sites in Iran. Remember, having nuclear facilities is not prohibited. So you can have the capability and the capacity. The problem is when you weaponize it. And as you've heard from Marco Rubio, as you've heard from the US's intelligence director, they haven't had any evidence of that. Here is the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency speaking on CNN yesterday. I watched his interview, and he said they didn't have information that Iran planned to weaponize nuclear facilities.
Was Iran beginning to weaponize its program?
We didn't have any indication to that effect.
We didn't have any indication to that effect. So what did America rely on? Even the IAEA said there's no conclusive, credible evidence of a nuclear weapon. And look, I think there are legitimate concerns about Iran's nuclear activity. It's recently expanded rapidly, I think to about 60% enrichment. And the question, of course, is why did they rapidly escalate? Because 60% is far beyond what you need for peaceful nuclear energy. And there was an international concern around this. And as I said, enriching uranium is not forbidden, but when you are the only country in the world that's enriching to 60% and continues to do so, that is a concern and it must be dealt with. But a decision can be made that, oh, that country has decided to weaponize when there's no credible evidence to it, because then America can just go around bombing any other country that has nuclear facilities and say, oh, they've just decided to do it. What is that based on? The Trump administration, I believe, have walked away. I think it was in 2018. They walked away from a deal that Barack Obama has negotiated, a nuclear deal with Iran. And some people now are saying Iran is never going to give up its nuclear weapons precisely for the reason of what happened this past weekend. Because what happened to Ukraine when they gave up their nukes? Got invaded by Russia. Saddam Hussein gives up nukes, gets invaded and executed. Gaddafi gives up chemical weapons, and what happened? Gets invaded. So do you think Iran is going to give up its nuclear programs given these attacks? Are we suddenly going to see regime change in Iran because the US and Israel says the current one is an oppressive and dangerous regime? And that's a separate conversation we can have. But I don't see Iran suddenly changing their viewpoint and leading to unconditional surrender of their nuclear facilities, especially because of how the US has dealt with this issue. And to think that Iran would be stupid to leave their assets vulnerable, I mean, I doubt this is going to bring Iran to the negotiating table, but we need them to start talking. But Trump walked away from the table. And now he's gone and attacked Iran, and Iran wants to retaliate, and Trump says, if you dare retaliate, you're going to see hell, essentially. So what do you think with that context? Who's right here? Who's wrong? And what should be the approach of Iran? Because you don't want an escalation of conflict where you lead to instability in that region. Already the war on Gaza is devastating enough.